Hi, and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I am Ozma in the Dark, using she, they pronouns, and it's a wonderful day. How are you doing, Christy?
I am doing very well, thank you. I'm also a she, but I'm a her on the other end of that.
How about you, Perfect?
I'm doing fine. I use he, him pronouns.
And finally, our guest, Ricky Gare. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. My name is Ricky. I'm using mainly they, them pronoun, but also he, him pronoun, and I'm non-binary.
Yeah. And today, we're talking about the wonderful topic of anti trans propaganda because it's still a thing. And it is a messy jungle of things. What's everyone's thoughts about anti-trans propaganda? I mean, obviously it's there, but how familiar are you guys with it?
Well, if I don't get at least one thing from regular old transphobe and another thing from an anti-trans group in a day, then at this point, I almost feel like I have no online presence.
Hey, the Fluid Voice is every week.
Well, yeah, I know. It's just
that's online presence.
I know. It's just I get so much of it.
Yeah.
Okay. The YouTube algorithm recommended a Rose of Dawn video to me this week.
Yeah.
It went, hey, you watch The Fluid Voice. Maybe you'd like this too.
What? Oh my god. Why?
Oh my god.
What? No, I don't want it. The Fluid Voice does not want to be an alt-right pipeline. And I'm sure Rose of Dawn would be.
And I watched it, and it was absolutely insidious. In the take, it was that she was addressing the idea that that trans people were arguing that no one could ever, and she was definitely adamant that they were saying no one could ever claim to be trans for any ulterior motives or purpose. And then she went into a long story about the criminal history of a predator who was fairly obviously trying to game the system in order to have access to prey, and claiming to be a woman when I have my doubts, but you never get to know the mind of another person. Okay.
Yeah.
Was the person she was talking about? Was the person she was talking about have the initials JY?
I don't recall.
No,
well
that's
enough.
not the same person.
No.
And I was just like, it was. I was going. This is a weird outlier case of somebody who's in prison, so on and so forth. You're like,
oh, that one. Okay.
In a country that has different rules.
Oh.
And it is the crazy goddamned argument on earth for saying that you should believe that everybody is going to be doing this, which is what you have to be arguing. That has to be the position. And you're just going, this is just scare tactics. This is just propaganda saying terrible things can happen. And then she was straight up saying that it was, a threat to women.
That fucking.
Like, this is.
Yeah, no, going by her logic, like, if anyone commits a crime, then the entire group that they're part of are automatically, like, dangerous. Like, if a white guy commits a crime, then apparently, like, from her logic, like, every white guy is dangerous now. So, like, if one trans person does a crime, for this person, apparently every trans person is dangerous, which is completely dumb and doesn't make any sense.
Well,
that was the other thing. She was very clear that She did not think that this person was a trans woman. She thought that they were a guy who was gaming the system.
No, I know. Look, I'm pretty
like,
sure who Rose of Dawn is talking about, and I have no reason to think that person is transitioning to game the system.
Yeah, if it wasn't JY, whose name I just won't say, then it was the other person, and the other person has a long history of mental illness and a lot of other things going on. It has nothing to do with her being trans or not.
But I'm saying that that's not even that's not part of my issue. My issue is the person fairly clearly has mental issues. I don't know where their legal standing on the mental issues in becoming part of their legal case is any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly an outlier. It is not the norm. It is not, and you can't start.
Here's one thing that I will disagree with something you said earlier slightly. Because I think culturally, being white is the default. So anyone who's not considered to be white or not considered to be straight is always going to be considered an unknown outlier that can be generalized as easily. It's a bit more difficult, I get the impression, for the dehumanization tactics to work, at least in America and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I also
yeah.
Sorry, I got lost in. There are two examples that keep getting trotted out. It's like with the detransitioners, there's the guy, who keeps getting trotted out, and it's like, if this is the extent of our problem, we're actually pretty Jake,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to go swimming again. I really do. That would be nice. Well, Ozma and I were talking about it before the show, and I want to go swimming.
When people say nobody's doing that, they don't mean there is absolutely no one who ever has or ever will do such a thing. They mean that is not what people are doing. See all these people here? They're not doing that. That isn't part of what's going on. That's just criminals being criminal or mad people being mad. It's not about trans issues. And what she was specifically arguing was the self-identifying. That self-identifying was just a slippery slope. It led to all of this. That if you let people self-identify, that the only way you can be trans is if you have a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria.
Yeah. Well, the trans medicalist argument, which isn't too far off. Ricky, don't want to bulldoze you here. We've been talking about what are your general thoughts about the anti-trans propaganda and stuff?
Well, I'd say how do I say that? I did a lot of research regarding like the misconceptions some people have regarding trans people. I made a video about that, and most of them are pretty much like anti-trans propaganda, especially about like kids transitioning, for example. Like some popular YouTuber like Blair White are gonna say that they're castrating kids. Like they're using like really strong words to dissuade people from like allowing their kids to transition, even though transitioning has been proven to help mental health for trans youth. I'd say the trans medicalists are also kind of a anti-trans movement, anti-trans towards like non-binary trans people and gatekeeping. Like I'd say that too, and like the whole like trans people are predators is also a pretty big anti-trans propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah, although this is also one of those things where it's like I feel like this is recycled and gets mentioned a lot. Just how much these arguments are the same as arguments that have been used against lesbian, gay, bisexual people in different periods of time.
Well, you all know my situation, so
well, at least with the predator thing, I should say.
I am old enough for my mother not to be let into bathrooms for being too black looking. And because she's a danger and people feel uncomfortable around her, and I hear the exact same wording constantly about the predator. So it's I don't get it. Brendan Beckwith has finally come back to YouTube, which thank goodness, because she was one of the people who was bullied off by trans medicalists. And she just did a whole thing on trans medicalism, and well, I'll mention the third of the unholy trinity, which is Alexandria, and how Alexandria's gang treated her. The thing that people don't, all trans experiences have overlaps, but much like in general, all people's experiences are different. That's, dare I say the word intersectionality, but by golly, that's a word that exists and it's useful.
I mean, intersectionality is I mean, it's a helpful thing, but if you start getting into how helpful it is, I get the impression that some of the aspects of the conversation, it isn't the only thing to stop anti-trans propaganda. Or get rid of it, but I do get the impression that there are certain gatekeeping elements that help spread a reason to hate certain people.
Yeah. Every time someone says, my experience is more important than yours, yes, your experience will probably be more important in a particular way, but not cover everybody. And the whole, well, we'll get into LGBT Alliance, which,
I mean, that is a very anti-trans group.
Yeah.
How familiar are you with LGBT Alliance? Ricky?
I'd say that LGBT Alliance is not only anti-trans, it's pretty much anti-LGBT in general, because they're allied with groups that are clearly like homophobic and all. So I'd say they're pretty much anti like anyone.
I mean,
yeah, they're mainly anti-trans, but they're like, they hate trans people to the point that they're gonna ally with people that are like anti-LGBT too. So it's kind of like really hypocrite and like, I'd say like really disgusting.
Yeah. And
that's the thing.
Yeah, so I guess something I'm curious about is obviously there are a lot of talking points that can be anti-trans. How do you break past like let's just bring up one, the gender absolution is sort of talking point that's like vehemently anti-trans because it's sort of men are this and women are this, and there are certain aspects that are completely uninterchangeable, and that they're constantly that there can't be any different, or that there can't be any reason that there might be any ambiguity. And how do you even start to break that?
That was for Ricky. Sorry.
Well, that's for anyone who wants to say something. Anyone who wants to pipe up. I
Okay,
can.
so you're asking like how we can break this idea that like men has to be like the specific thing and women has to be the specific thing.
Yeah,
Is that what
because
you're...
like I get the impression that they're so far down on that that's just like it's hard for me because because I've talked about biology and stuff with people, but that's like doesn't seem to do anything to alter the sort of talking points.
I think at this point the only thing we can really do is make sure that no one else fall into this mentality, because people were like far down like the turf transphobic mentality. They just really, most of the time they just really hate trans people. Like no matter how much argument, some of them are like really lost cause. So I think educating people in general that don't really know about trans issues would be the best option to avoid that they join the transphobic pipeline.
Yeah, I'm wondering how wide the net goes. Is it just the obvious stuff that I'm catching? Is there a lot of inobvious anti-trans propaganda that goes on that I'm not catching because I'm not sensitive enough to the issues?
Well, there's the one joke and its variants.
Are we talking about the helicopter joke?
Yeah.
Hey, we've made that helicopter joke. We're not an anti. Wait, is this why Rose of Dawn is getting recommended? Is it our fault? We did a better version of that joke. But, like...
I will tell you my favorite version of the joke, though. I identify as an attack helicopter. Okay, I support you. You what? Shh. Attack helicopters can't speak. Oh, blessed silence.
Okay.
It's a nice turnaround in the joke. I ran across it this week.
I need to try that for like anyone who make that stupid joke. Like, but like that just show how like transphobes like no originality. Like they just recycle, and they always find it funny. Like it's been like 4 years they're using the same joke, and they always find it funny. Like I don't know. That just speaks of the level of their intellect. I think at this point, for you to laugh at the same joke for 4 years.
Hey.
Yeah.
For all you know, we might be making the same dumb jokes for 4 years.
I think the one tack I've been taking recently, and it's not working, but it's kind of like, because if you get angry, they call you they call me a male abuser. And so it's like, okay, I'm not the one who's been, writing paragraphs and paragraphs saying your existence is dangerous and evil, but fine. So I have been just asking, have you ever talked to us? And that actually pisses them off. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, with that... Well, it's difficult to say how much of that is cognitive dissonance, because every once in a while you can tell when someone hits cognitive dissonance and then is forced into a position where they need to double down on things, or they need to actually self-reflect. I'm curious. Would any of you think that trying to culturally move things away from people being bad or good and focus more on the fact that this person is doing bad things and this person is doing good things, do you think that would help at all? I mean, I say that like we can influence entire cultures just by one person being there, but I honestly think that sort of I always get the impression that that sort of attitude helps make it feel like more of a risk to self-reflect at all, because obviously people are complicated and don't want to think of themselves as in any way inherently bad.
Well, nobody. If you trap somebody in a situation where you have assigned them that they either have to admit that they are bad, or they're never going to do that. They're never going to. I am bad. But if you have to leave them the space to back down to be able to say, okay, I was behaving badly.
I've been working on the idea of permission structures recently, so
But
sorry.
no. I want to hear about the permission structures.
Yeah, I'm curious now. You mentioned permission structures.
The permission structures to change your mind without being
Wrong.
Not even without being wrong. Well, yeah, partially. It's okay. This was a mistake. Even if that's okay. This was a mistake. We can still figure out some way to fix this. That was one of the things that came up a lot in the election when you talk to a lot of the Republicans against Trump. They talked a lot about permission structures, which is interesting. So I've been trying a lot of different tacks recently, although somebody got on my somebody attacked me badly on Trans Day of Remembrance, and I blew up at them, which I don't normally do.
Yeah.
You guys
Okay.
you guys don't really see me blowing up at anything, really. You know?
Doing a fair amount of arguing with people and so on. A thing which I understand is that if you're arguing with somebody and they keep coming back, you were mentioning that they keep coming back.
Yeah.
Ozma, and so on. That if they keep coming back to their arguments that they presented before and that you addressed before and that you dispelled before, and then when you dispelled them the third time, you got them to actually agree, I am dispelling this. You understand that argument is vacated, and so on, but they keep coming back to it. It's because that argument isn't why they believe what they do. They believe what they do for some other reason that you aren't addressing because they won't tell you what it is. So they keep coming back to these things because they still feel the same way. Their position hasn't been vacated. They don't feel they've been undermined at all.
Yeah. That makes sense. Although, just in general, one of the things that comes up a lot is whether or not there's a lot of concern about even being listened to. Whether or not what arguments are worth the time. I don't know if any of you have thoughts about that or whatnot. I know, Ricky, you've been really quiet. I want to give you opportunities to speak.
Well, I think it's a good idea for like certain person who may have like a bad opinion to say what you're doing is bad and not you're a bad person. But that also depends like how much in good faith they are. Like if you pick like Blair White, for example, I'm pretty sure she knows what she's doing. Like she she purposely like spread misinformation. So saying like I don't think like there's much of a point trying to convince Blair White at this point, but like a random person that is not really like much aware about trans issues, you can give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't really know and try to explain to them. But if they really like keep pushing their point and they really show that they are in no way like in good faith and actually trying to learn, like I think that doesn't really make them a bad person, but I don't think like you should lose your time on someone who doesn't want to understand. Like I don't think it's up to like trans people to constantly like debate their own existence to people who are not open to the idea at all.
Well, just my quick sorting method, which is, okay, this is somebody I can work. I want to say work on, but there's a better way of putting it, and I don't have it right now. Or which is top, and second is, I'll give this person a chance, which is second, and the third is fuck off.
Yeah, and to add what you said before, Ricky, I mean, I think we'd probably agree that it's not the job of anyone who's trans to debate their existence. It's a volunteer work job. I mean, I chose to try to be visible because I was like, I have friends who are nice and who care about me. I'm in like a relatively emotionally safe place.
And
financially not
anyway, so
financially not necessarily the safest place, but in terms of a lot of other things, an emotionally safe space to be able to do this. Because I don't expect ever, like, if your people are trying to live, and with the poverty rates of trans people and the amount of lack of acceptance, it's just expecting the average trans person to just like also have to argue for their existence just seems cruel. That's right, society. Fuck off. No.
Part of the Rosa Dawn thing, part of why I was saying it was insidious is that it was fairly clear to me that what she was saying is she thought that society and she should get to say who gets to be trans and who isn't. That they should get a vote in people's gender identity and that kind of, and I'm like, I have no idea what would, even if you thought it was something that was a choice and that everybody got to make a choice, what would make you think it was your choice to pick somebody else's identity? I do not understand any of that part of the argument, and they aren't willing to actually argue that part of the argument.
Yeah.
That's why they never bring it up, because somebody will say, well, what makes it your choice?
Yeah, well, trans medicalists like them, they like to say that you need dysphoria to be trans, but even people who has dysphoria, sometimes they will say, no, they're not trans enough because they're non-binary or they're like gender non-conforming. So there really isn't any, like, they're just going to say that you're not trans if you don't fit like what they expect you, like if they don't like you, they're just going to find a reason to say you're not really trans because that's all they do. Like, and there's part of that is kind of a grift. Oh, I'm one of the good one trans. I'm not like, it's kind of like I'm not like other girls, but like it's the trans version. I'm not like other trans. And it's like really popular among trans folks to have like a trans person validating their transphobia. So, and I think that they're kind of doing it because I wouldn't say that they have like internalized transphobia, but maybe they have some, maybe not hatred towards them, but they don't want to be associated with people that makes them cringe, for example. So they want to make sure that I'm not like those people, but because a lot of people are laughing at trans people so they don't really want themselves to be laughed at. So they're gonna like laugh with the other transphobes at other trans people, so they can be part of the club.
Do you think there is a large section of internalized transphobia to it? Because if the only way to make themselves feel better about their own situation is to have people beneath them.
I think some of them are like that, yeah. I think some of them like went through a lot of dysphoria, and seeing other trans people who doesn't go as rough as them, like in their dysphoria, they're like more, they can more easily deal with it, or they're able to be happy even if they're trans, or they like that. Sometimes it can piss them off because they're like, they don't suffer as much as me, so they're not valid as trans, and they're kind of putting the standard to be trans is how much do you suffer of being trans.
I mean, yes, to some degree, but I get the impression that it's how much you are perceived as suffering, and if you are continuing to not conform, it must mean that you're not suffering enough. I get the impression is their mentality, which I mean, kind of fits with what some of the other things you were saying before about like if a trans medicalist said I wasn't trans enough, and I've like dysphoria is my main reason for transitioning. But the more I made this joke on Twitter, it's like the more I transition, the more agender I become. But like it's very much gender and the physical aspects I think also just need to be separated societally, and that's like a tough thing.
It took me forever to come out, even though it was always there, and it's like it actually kind of upsets me in a way that I would be accepted by them because I can produce at least 10 suicide notes, you know.
I only did that one in 6th grade.
Oh, see? You're not real then.
Well, I mean, I also planned my suicide on at least 3 or 4 different occasions.
Yeah, but can you prove it?
Damn it.
Yeah, I should have content warning that. I apologize. It's just one of those things when, because I'm happy, that I'm not allowed to be happy, even being where I should be right now. You know?
But
yeah,
I'm looking for some actual advice here on how thick is is it all as open as Rose of Dawn, where it's like, yes, this is obviously propaganda, or is there more that's just more subtle and more in?
I mean, they oftentimes I get the impression with a lot of anti-anything propaganda that they won't necessarily outright say it. Yeah, the Rose of Dawn thing. Yeah, no, I can't think of a subtler kind, although sometimes you can see people starting down that path of feeling comfortable enough to go full transphobe.
I think Ben Shapiro is.
Riddles Drusilla.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, there are certainly settlers. JK's essay.
Oh, that was.
Oh yeah, the turf manifesto.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not subtle.
It is much more. You hang around with trans people, you understood what was wrong with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very hard to explain to most people what was wrong with it.
Yeah, that's also true, because they're not like outright saying trans people shouldn't exist. They're not.
I mean, they're just say that. It's just not outright saying it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and oftentimes they say they support trans rights so they can.
Yeah, they tend to wrap their transphobia like in compassion, being like, we don't want them to suffer, so we're gonna try to make it that they're not trans, or we want to protect women rights. Like I lived with the turf for 3 years, so
Ooh,
yeah, because my
I'm sorry.
my biological mother is a turf, and I went to live with her for 3 years of my life, and that took me a time to realize that she was like really transphobic because she keep like sugarcoating like her transphobia, making it look like she just have concern for those people. But then she like I was dating a trans person back then, and she started like saying like really really transphobic stuff to me about my significant other, and I really got tired of it, and that's why I'm not living with her anymore. But that was pretty rough when you realize that, and that probably didn't help me like realize I was trans to be living with her for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the worst is that she has trans friends, and uh, in their face she's like really nice to them. She properly gender them, but in their back she keep like dead dating them and misgendering them. And that's really when I started like to realize that she was really transphobic. Like that really made me uncomfortable to see her like misgender someone that she supposed to see as a friend. So I thought it was like really disgusting of her. So yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
That could be really, really rough.
And
We
the closest I have is my mother. My child is trans. My child came out first. You always have to say that. And the other day I was on the phone, and my mother did everything she could to get around saying my kid's name. With me, I went from Chris to Chris, so it's real easy for me. But Cyrus did not. And I finally just said, you can actually say his name. It's okay. I would like to hear it at least once from you. Well, I wrote it down on the Christmas card. No, that's not. I mean, that's something, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's not actually the whole thing. Yeah,
It's not the thing.
Yeah.
not the thing itself. It's a representation of the thing.
Yeah.
This is not a pipe.
This is the I mean, that is not a compare and contrast. That's just it's every shade is different. I mean, but I got lost in here somewhere. Most of the time it's not quite as subtle. My second video on the screed, the manifesto, received the comment, "You're a man and you'll always be a man, and an ugly one at that," which I know we've discussed before. But I left it on, but
Yeah. Although, is it weird that I kind of associate comments like that with the men who are transphobic, who are like openly transphobic?
yeah, but
Would Ben Shapiro count as perhaps one of the subtler forms of the propaganda end of it? I mean, where he's trying to make it sound like a reasoned based argument as opposed to phobias.
Yeah, like he said that like pronouns are about chromosomes, but that's completely dumb because you never know someone's chromosomes. And some like how would he gendered someone who is intersex, like someone who is like assigned male at birth, that is a cis man, but as XX chromosome because he's intersex. Like what would he say she? And the thing is, like in a certain language, like mine, French, we do use gendered pronoun for objects. So does that mean that the table has an XX chromosome in French? Like, that doesn't, like, he really sees like everything centered on English. Like, a lot of people like him like see the entire world around like the United States in English. So his whole argument of chromosomes determine pronouns doesn't work at all, because he sees it just from his perspective as an American who speaks English. And pronouns were created way before we discovered chromosomes. So he said that it's logic, but it's absolutely not logic. This is entirely his feeling. He doesn't like trans people, so he's gonna use the facts over feelings argument, but he's the one speaking with his feelings most of the time.
Oh yeah.
The well,
Although I do like,
as-
I mean, facts for my facts don't care about your feelings is a fun catchphrase. I'm not going to deny that's a fun catchphrase. Although oftentimes it's to talk against points that are like Shapiro's.
Well,
yeah.
yes. In fact, that's one of the best phrases. The times to use that is when somebody wants to insist that biology is king and biology rules, and you say, "Oh, really? Let's talk biology."
Yeah, they never want to talk biology.
I'm one of their nightmare peoples.
What? Because you're an XX trans woman?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really curious what Ben Shapiro would say. Like if like is absolute is chromosomes, like you wouldn't have any other choice than properly gender you, because if you have XX, like his whole mentality is that chromosomes determine like your pronouns. So
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why you're blocked by certain trans medicalists, right, Christy?
Oh yeah, Christina Stock blocked me. I was one of my best days.
There are also, I mean, there are XY women
Yes.
Yeah.
who have conceived without medical assistance. They have gotten pregnant and had children.
Yeah.
I am a fertile. Well, I'm not fertile anymore, but I'm a fertile.
Well, there's
semi-fertile XX man. Was born as semi-fort. Well, fuck. Yeah, I have 2 children. Let's just go with that.
okay.
Yeah, and then you can get into the chromosome juggling acts where you have XXY and YYX, and you know.
Yeah, and don't forget, like, there was an article recently that was bound to happen at some point of a trans woman who had uterus and ovaries because of the likely the so essentially biologically it's there though oftentimes the Y chromosome has a thing that's just like human body don't make the uterus and ovaries, and that's like the biggest difference. Everything else is like mostly the same biologically, and well, I mean that, and the Y chromosome doesn't have the color thing, but like so there's a small number of people who have XY chromosomes who also have a uterus and ovaries.
Yeah. It's SRY attachment. It has nothing. And everybody is not all just XX or XY anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, but like when it comes to the genetics of it, I mean, XX is just a duplication of the X chromosome, so everyone's got all the genetics.
Yeah.
Involved, basically. So like, this has nothing to do with the genetics of the situation. It just has to do with the gene activation, which is based off of hormones and the production of the one thing that stops human bodies from that stops the average man from growing a uterus and ovaries. But yeah, there's a trans woman with an XY chromosome that is capable of having children.
Not
like there's every different like element of intersex and trans out there that it makes it impossible for them to nail down what they mean when they try to associate gender and sex.
Well, the entire thing, evolution demands we exist. That is a thing because the variants have to exist, and we're part of the variants. And I don't mean just intersex people. I'm although I do have a tissue mass in the proper area, it never grew. It's just a small. It's like the trans people have to exist for evolution to work. One of those things I've been going on about recently.
I don't really have an argument against that. So
yeah, I mean, genetic variation will happen. I usually just think about it as like it'll happen, just based off of everything we know. It's not even like that has to happen; it just does. We just exist.
Well, before they
but
took
doesn't
off,
that mean there'll be if that was true, then by now there'd just be a complete homogenization of the sexes. There'd be only one sex because of evolution. Wouldn't that be true? Sorry, just had to do it.
well, I get all sorts of minority points. I'm Hispanic, but I look white, or Hispanic and black, but I look white, and my hair is naturally red, and I'm intersex, and
yeah, you're just trying to
fucking genetic nightmare.
Genetically, like the most interesting thing ever, actually. But I honestly, like, yeah, there's a lot of factors that are different, but the two things that I currently tend to be passionate about in terms of wanting things to stop is just critical thinking and humanization of people for being trans. Like trans people are people. It's not just a group. Because there's just like all these ways in which I get the impression that trans people are dehumanized by others and just sort of grouped into othering. But also critical thinking, I get the impression is important because it's genuinely important to think about things, and I think that's a problem with the skeptic community as well. Sometimes they don't do critical thinking, and by critical thinking I mean like actually asking about, what is this? Why do I think that this is the case? What do I do if I'm wrong about this? Stuff like that.
How will I know if I'm wrong about this?
Yeah, how will I know if I'm wrong about this? Thank you. I had written down the questions, but I didn't remember them. But it's important to just like step back and think about stuff and not go off of gut feeling all the time, because sometimes your gut feeling is wrong. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's wrong.
There's no such thing as common sense. Common sense is a myth.
It is amazing how much of our life we pilot through on gut feelings, and how terribly inaccurate they are. It's amazing that we survive.
Well, I mean, but when they're accurate, it's easy to remember. Like when you have the gut feeling that someone is a shitty person, and that turns out that they're a shitty person, and then you're just like, aha, I knew it. My gut feeling is right.
Although the first Mrs. Abbey, I hated her when I first met her. I rarely have that reaction to people. So.
But yeah, just to get back to...
Sorry, it's one of those because gut feelings, not
Yeah.
necessarily. I did. I want to ask. Do you live in France? Are you? Where are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a French Canadian.
French
I live
Canadian.
in French Canadian. I live in Quebec.
Okay. I sorry. I absorbed that information earlier today and totally forgot it. I apologize.
No, it's totally fine.
Well, I can hear the French accent, but I'm not good enough. I can't tell the difference between the Canadian French accent and French accents.
I feel like French accent is a little bit more obvious, since in Quebec we're living among English people, so it's more easier for us to have an accent that is more close to English accent than French people from France, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah. I just know I don't know a lot of French, despite the fact that everyone else in my family speaks French, and from there is a rumor, or there's a there is a negative stereotype about French Canada, that everyone in French Canada is a stickler about proper usage of French. That is genuinely a stereotype in
Well,
America.
it's not totally false. It's just that since Quebec is like surrounded by English people, like we have laws here to protect French. So that's why some people. It's not really that people are like really. What's the term you use?
Stickler
About it. It's just that the government wants to protect the French language. So there's like a lot of laws that like force places to like they can't like hire someone who can't speak French at all. So like when you go, like you're supposed to be served in French first when you go into any shop or store or restaurant. You're supposed to be able to be served in French because this is the main language of the place.
Gotcha.
So,
okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
but I wouldn't say that people are like really stickler, like people in general, because I speak French with my friend all the time, and like a lot of them makes mistakes all the time when they write, and that's kind of like me personally. I'm kind of stickler, but I'm also like in English. I'm kind of in the same way. Like even if it's not my first language, and if I text with someone in English and they made like 1,000 mistakes, I'm gonna be a little bit annoyed. But that's because I'm like really stickler on grammar and all.
I mean, fair. But yeah, back to like what the big question is that I think a lot of people ask is what can they do about this, the anti-trans propaganda? Like, how are they going to counteract? How are people going to counteract it? Because it feels like a monumentous task, and you hear about people getting sucked in, and you also hear about people getting ending up with various realizations that they were wrong. So the real question is, what can people as an individual feel like they can do to, even if it's just going to make a small difference?
See, on the Rosa Dawn video, I keep going back to it.
I mean, it was a terrible thing from everything you described.
I thought about taking apart her argument, just explaining why it was terrible, why it was a valueless argument in the comments. And then I was like, I already gave her a view. I really am not sure I want to give her community engagement as well. I'm not sure it's worth it. I'm not sure I'll be reaching an audience that will bother to listen.
I had no choice but to be trans in public.
Well, there's that. You see, you don't get it, but I get to. I have a little bit of a privilege here. I can go. I don't need to engage with her on this.
Oh no,
But part of me wants to.
I meant just in general. One of the hardest things to cope with was knowing I'm a I'm someone who's known in my city, and that I'd have to that coming out this late was going to be a thing, and I thank goodness that I got to talk to well, I don't usually name drop on here. I save that for the after show. I got to talk to Laura Jane Grace a little bit about it, which I was navigating as a public figure. So that's been
Well,
yeah.
I'm interested in what all three of you have to contribute on. Should I bother to engage? I mean, it is the sort of thing I do. With poor argumentation bothers me. It's like a pet peeve. Okay, and so I will, write up why somebody's argument is terrible or why it's good. I'll do either one. But is it worth engaging?
I'd say the best would be to make. I'm not sure like if you have like a YouTube channel, but doing a response video can be a good way to have like your own video, your own platform to engage rather than like arguing in the comment section of a Rose of Dawn video. Like if you do your own, you debunk the her claims in your own video, you have more chance to reach people who are more open-minded to like people who don't really know much about trans issues but are not like transphobic. They would have like a better way to, you would have a better way to engage with those people if you make your own video, your own reaction video, your own post, rather than like interacting directly on the video itself. I'd say personally.
This is a hard thing. This is why I ask questions and don't provide any answers. No, it's a difficult thing because when it comes to videos, it's who is going to find it. It's are you looking for someone who's trying to get out of the pipeline, or who is moving into the pipeline and trying to stop that? Or are you trying to, and can you? I mean, it's probably better to do it on your own platform. Although the fact that you have a Discord and that you talk to people also probably does a bit of help as well. But yeah, people aren't going to necessarily read your comment. Or if they do, it's just to say that you suck.
Yeah, the comment just going to be like drawn in like more and more comments. And most people are just probably not really consider any of your arguments. They're probably all Rose of Dawn fans, so they're just going to like, say you sucks. They're going to just say that.
I mean, the making of the video is something that can work. I mean, it doesn't often. I mean, Miss London is one of the success stories at getting her out of that pipeline. But I also don't know how much other stimuli she was receiving from other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that making more leftist content on YouTube can help, because now there is more and more like leftist YouTuber, and they do help like pulling people out of the pipeline. They do help educate people, and there is a little bit more and more acceptance for LGBT people, especially also for trans people recently. So I do think that YouTube videos can help. I think this is a good way to engage with a wider audience and try to spread trans positivity, I would say, like trying to debunk those anti-trans propaganda.
Sure.
So 3 things. One, Perfict. If you're interested, Emily Chambers also, and I'm sure you probably saw it on YouTube, suggested the possibility of blog analysis would also be your own platform, even though even if something isn't going to necessarily reach, nobody's going to reach everyone. That's like a fact of the matter. Nobody's going to reach everyone, but like sometimes if you want to do something that you can actually that you feel comfortable doing and that you can do, that also helps. 2, we have reached the halfway point, which means 2 things. I'm just gonna go off on numbers now. Technically, we accept call-ins if they're screened, but me and Christy don't trust ourselves with screening call-ins, so we've pushed it all onto Perfict. But that said, that is, and also we're still relatively small. But yeah, we do accept call-ins, and we also accept going off of topic, although oftentimes we end up jumping back to the topic at hand anyways.
Okay, so what did J.K. Rowling do?
Oh my god.
Oh, that's dark.
I honestly don't know. I haven't paid much attention. But that is a nice running joke. No, it's...
Well, we've already talked about Ben Shapiro, so...
Well,
But
yeah.
The funny thing with J.K. Rowling is somebody asked, again, I got those, well, what did J.K. Rowling say that was transphobic? And I told the person, well, look, last time I was asked this, I put a link to one of my own videos, and the person on the other end accused me of trying to promote myself. So here's a video I think works well and has nothing to do with me. And then I got accused of going on the bandwagon, which can't fucking win. And he didn't watch it anyway. So he just wanted to make that little trolley poly point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are those people, and oftentimes it's, well, I mean, it is a no-win circumstance with some people, because you can explain it, and they're like, oh, you didn't give a simple explanation, so it's not good. And then you give a simple explanation, they're like, well, that's not a very scientific and complex explanation, so it must be wrong. So it's just like, well, fuck you.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Make up my mind.
I did manage to get somebody to stop using the term "GRA" because that was from Reddit when Gender Critical was still on Reddit, and it's just an easy way to say the T word without saying the T word, regardless of what they say it stands for.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows it means the T word.
We all know what the T word is.
Yes, I had mine replaced in my car.
Look, it's the mission of trans people to change transmission.
Yes, indeed.
The secret mission. But seriously, because I know, yeah, YouTube, there are some YouTube videos that have changed people's minds, and then, but I can never tell necessarily how long they're, I don't know, maybe I don't trust people to stay having their minds changed, and I can't tell with these the more anecdotal stuff. But at the same time, I know people's minds have absolutely been changed, at the very least partially through YouTube content, and maybe to some degree I get concerned about some of the deeper roots of things not getting addressed, similar to like when the skeptical community on YouTube obviously change people's minds away from religion, but also, but they didn't delve much into critical thinking, so they oftentimes ended up going down weird transphobic routes as well, like Rationality Rules did for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, I'd go further back than that, but Amazing Atheist and
Yeah,
Sam fucking Harris.
but
He's earned that middle name.
But yeah, it's just I guess maybe I just get concerned about the possibility that these changes are not superficial, but are part of the thinking where after a long conversation they'll accept trans people or whatever, but asexuality is a no-go for whatever reason, or like accepting one aspect of it but not dealing with the deeper aspect of caring about human beings because they were born. Like there doesn't need to be like a special reason for people to matter.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's anyone else's concern, or if I'm just like overly paranoid or something.
No, I went through. I'm old YouTube, so I'm old in general. But yeah, I went through that, and yeah, that is a concern, and I try and not wander down those same paths. I mean,
But asexuality is inconvenient.
How is
it makes
that?
me learn new pronouns.
It doesn't even have to deal with pronouns.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I had a friend that at some point, like when I mentioned like sexualities he didn't know, or show a LGBT flag he didn't know, like he got mad because he was like, "Oh, am I supposed to learn all those flags? Like they're not there for you. like why are you mad? Like the LGBT flags are basically like if there is so many, it's just so that people are all represented among like it's so you don't forget about those identity, and if it makes people feel more included, like why do you care so much about like I also have another person, my turf mom, who is not LGBT, who said that she thinks that we shouldn't have all those flags. I'm like, you're not even LGBT, that's like yeah, the rainbow one is the global one, but like having different flag for different identity is totally fine. But yeah, that one is good. Like I don't know why you get like I feel like to get upset about like flags, you need to be like really, really privileged in your life. It's the only thing that bothers you is that those people has flags and I don't have one. Like,
there's the straight ally flag.
Yeah, that's what I told him. But he's like, "Well, it's the ally one. It's not the straight one. Like, why would?"
What I always say is every time you complain, we add 10 more genders. It's not my line, but I love it.
Yeah, I see that, and that sort of thing on Twitter a lot. Or every time you claim, we will make 10 more characters that you like trans.
Yeah, or like whenever. Oh yeah, like this is the same person I get upset when you make like trans headcanon. Like, but where did the author said they were trans? Like, who cares? Like, it's for fun. Like, can you just let the trans have fun a little bit? Like, it doesn't affect your life. Like, those people are like so used to have everything cater about their needs that whenever a minority tries to have fun, like they take offense with that.
Well, yeah, because it's different, and people have been taught from a long time to just accept cishet white stuff as the default, and everything else being a potential other, which I don't think is very healthy.
Yeah. Like in a TV show, like if your character is white, you have no reason like to Like, if the character is white, cis, male, you don't have to justify why they're that way. But if the character is like any other ethnicities or orientation, like it has to have a reason why this character is gay. Like the character just can't just be gay because gay people exist. There has to be a reason, otherwise it's just pandering.
Yeah.
Like that's just no. Gay people exist, and that's normal that they're represented in media because we exist.
Well, and there's
There
been
was
a lot.
a show I was watching, which it was a cop show, and one cop is talking to another cop, and he's saying to be coming to this barbecue, and then the other cop, who is a male, and he says to him, "Make sure and tell your husband to bring his potato salad. People have been talking about it since last year," and then walks away, and that was the extent of it.
Yeah,
It was not a very special episode about him being gay. It was nothing more was said about it. And I was like, that may be the moment that we have finally got there where it's not the issue.
Well,
It's just
is it
part of
99
what's going on
Brooklyn?
with it.
Yeah, it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay, Brooklyn Nine. Oh, okay, I didn't know.
No, it wasn't that.
Oh, really?
Wasn't that
It was
because
just,
I
it was
remember
just a straight
similar line in
procedural
there.
show.
But yeah,
And,
well,
and it was not a major character. It was not a major character or anything like that. It was just boop.
yeah. Well, I mean, generally there's more outrage if it's a major character. You can have like a side character, but like if it starts to get a major character, if the main character is like a black lesbian trans woman, like people just be like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Those
there's-
people don't
That would
exist.
never happen.
There's only two sexual orientations: straight and political. That's the only two sexual orientations.
Yeah.
I'm going to be stealing that.
It's
Well-
fine. There are a full 3 genders: man, woman, and political. So like,
The Discovery this year, I guess it was the first episode of the year, Star Trek Discovery. There was not a white person in it until near maybe 3/4 through, and he
He's
kind of
based.
and it was really, and the only reason I noticed it then is because he stood out. And it was because he was the only one in a particular group of bad guys that didn't have a line.
Yeah.
And, so they went through the entire episode without a white guy.
yeah. Well, I mean, I always get the impression that when it comes to science fiction and fantasy, people are trying their best to show what it is like for them.
And Discovery has non-binary and trans this year, so good.
Oh yeah, I need to watch this show. One of my coworkers suggested to me, and whenever he suggests me a TV show, I usually like it, so I should watch it.
I'm behind on every television show.
Anything that makes the quarterling's head explode, I'm good.
Oh yeah.
It's my single goal in life is to make the quarterling's head explode.
Oh yeah, because he's got mad because like this cartoon character didn't have big boobs enough for him. Like he wanted to jerk off to like anime, not cartoon underage character.
Oh god.
If he wants that, he should just go watch anime. Like I think anime would fit his taste better than cartoon, kids cartoon.
Especially the one who said they took away her pelvic bone. It's like, what? What are you on about?
We could go off about 7 of 9.
What about 7 of 9?
Oh. Terrible thing to happen to the plot and writing. Simply terrible. And I mean, and the character was Munchkin. So on.
Oh, is that what the quartering said? I'm confused.
What?
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 What? I'm lost now.
Okay.
7 of 9 is canonically bi now, which how about
Yeah.
Wait, who's by?
7 of 9.
7 of 9. Jeez.
I don't know who that. I don't know who that is.
She's okay. So back in
not a Trekkie.
2000, early 2000s, there was a Star Trek show called Voyager. It was after Deep Space Nine. The first season, in my opinion, wasn't very good. The first couple of seasons, look, I really didn't like what's her face, the person who only lives like 6 years or whatever.
Oh
yeah.
But anyways,
Dramatic.
but yeah, she is a much like she is a escaped Borg, or former Borg, I should say. So in a similar situation to
You.
the Hugh,
yeah.
yeah, I was trying to think of the. And thank you, Cass. I really didn't like Cass and I was happy when she went away in Voyager. I'm sorry, I just have an issue with that character.
Spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning for a super old show.
But yeah, yeah, 709 canonically bi. They're really trying for representation. It's been an interesting watch. I think they failed twice in spectacular ways in Discovery, but they tried to fix the one. Let's see what they do with the other.
Yeah. The important thing is that SpongeBob is canonically asexual.
Yes.
And people can die mad about it. About kid Sponge being asexual.
Like, they keep complaining about like how like LGBT identity are like inherently like too sexual for kids, but they're still mad about the character being literally asexual.
Yeah.
Like, make it make sense, like they like to say.
Well, yeah, well then you start getting into the oppression wars, where it starts to be a game of who gets more oppressed, and therefore that is the only one that matters. Oh, this person isn't as oppressed, therefore the oppression doesn't matter.
As a cis white male, I would like to claim that your oppression is oppressing me.
Life is easy. Life is easy pretending to be a white male. I gotta say. It was much easier that way. I
hated it.
Yeah, well, I mean, none of us here are really white. We don't qualify.
I mostly qualify. I'm Jewish, so only full outright
problem.
Only full alt-right people will not consider me white.
Well, I'm transitioning more towards male, so at some point I'm probably gonna pass well as like a white male. But I do have my grandfather is from Haiti, but I'm really white passing. But maybe some people who know that, maybe they will like not let me enter in the ethno state. But I'm still like really white passing. But I do have like people in my family really close who are black, and people usually don't believe me when I told them my grandfather is black. They don't
I get the same thing. It's one of those. My grandmother wasn't allowed in the country. Wasn't allowed to. My great grandmother was famous, but my grandmother was already an adult when my great grandmother moved here, and so my grandmother was not allowed because she was black. So, even though she was paler than me, I figured that out. My great grandmother, my grandmother. So,
yeah. No, it's
Fuck.
It's really just. I don't know. I get the impression that some of these things are just distractions from with people just trying to look for an excuse to, because they don't feel comfortable with the world not being as simple as they want to make it.
Well, if it all has to do fourth grade biology, then
Oh my god! Don't get me started on that fucking fourth grade biology shit.
Yeah, that reminds me, I argued with a friend when I tried to explain to this friend that sex was not a perfect binary, it was actually a bimodal distribution, and I sent in like so many articles proving my point. He didn't took any time to read them or like took a quick glance at them. He just say, well, I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree. Like, did you at least check? Like, no, like he learned in class that there was only male, female, and like he's not open to like any other thing. Like he learned that in class, and that has to be this. That has to be this.
In fourth grade, I was 1974, 75 for me, so 74, 75. So what I learned is not at all true. None of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just it's all over. It's all subjects. It's true in all subjects. The American Revolution was not caused by the Boston Tea Party. Okay.
Wait, what?
Wasn't even caused
But
by
you know,
taxes.
you learned that in school. It must be true. No, later you learn it's not true.
Yeah, and sometimes schools kind of like will, even if it's like higher education, like in college, sometimes they're gonna simplify certain stuff if they don't like, for example, sex being bimoral is not really considered to be that useful, so a lot of schools won't go like as far in biology, so they're gonna keep it like simple as male, female, and maybe, well, they're probably gonna mention like intersex condition, but so like. Yeah, sometimes the education can be biased, especially towards its own history. Like, I don't think like American school really teach that Christopher Columbus was like a fucking terrible person. Well, I'm not American, so I don't really know. But I do know that.
No, that's not.
They didn't when I was young, but they're starting to now.
Yeah. So I get the impression that they touched upon it a little bit at my school, but I'm not.
Well, you see, they touched upon it when I was young. They didn't teach it. When my kids were going to school, they kind of touched on it. But by then I already knew what the truth was, which was he was really monstrous.
Yeah, no, he was really bad. I think. Oh, it might have been AP History. I might have taken AP. Well, I did take AP History in high school, so it may have been AP History that I heard about how fucked up Christopher Columbus was. So
Yeah, people keep saying that he discovered America, but like there was already people there. Like he didn't discover shit. He just got lost and he thought he was in India. Like he was a moron. He got lost and thought he was in India. He didn't discover shit.
Yeah, well,
that's how I knew I wasn't a man, because I couldn't follow because I always stopped for directions.
But yeah, it's just.
See, it's one of my things. I have a program for getting directions. When you go to get directions, go to a grocery store.
Always.
People shop for their groceries near where they live. They live around here. They know where the shit is. They'll tell you.
Yes, don't go to the gas station. It doesn't work.
Or just have a phone with like some data on it, so you can go on Google Map. That's what I do.
Yeah, phones kind of fix all directional problems.
Yes.
I am so glad once I got a smartphone.
Yeah, same here. It took me a while to have. I only like the first smartphone I think I had 20 when I had one. Like And now I work in a school and I keep seeing those little kids having like all those phone and tablets, and I feel old because I'm like, I didn't have that when I was their age. Why are they 80? There's like 8-year-old with a fucking tablet. What do they do with their tablet?
And I'm just like, I'm like, I was gonna say super old. I am like the second youngest person here. I just because I grew up largely in the 90s, so it's just like yeah, very little. I mean, there wasn't cell phone stuff in school. It just took me forever. It's just like buses were a mess. I hated buses. Plus, it's like, am I at the right bus stop? Am I facing the right direction? Am I just going to end up on a bus going the wrong way? And then have to get off of it to get the other bus once I realize that I've gone the wrong way. Yeah. And then end up an hour late.
Before I had a smartphone, like I was always worried to take the bus. But even with a smartphone, I'm always worried to take the wrong bus, even if it's a bus that only go in one direction. So it's like impossible that you take the wrong one. There's only one. I'm still worried. Like maybe that was the wrong bus. Like there's only one bus on my street going in the same direction, but I'm still worried that maybe it was, I don't know, like a mysterious bus, ghost bus or something.
Like I don't know. For 2 seconds, I apologize.
But like that's the anxiety talking. Like that's mainly just anxiety.
Yeah, well, I mean, to some degree, it like there isn't necessarily the level of need for traveling directions that there was in like maybe the 18th century or whatever. Yeah. So like it's not like it's not like the worst thing.
Anxiety leads you to be prepared for eventualities that might come up, but then anxiety can also make you simply borrow trouble.
Yeah, like
where you're simply borrowing trouble you're never going to have and experiencing all the fun of that trouble ahead of time.
Yeah, like most emotion like exists for a reason. Even like anxiety is there. Like if you're in danger, like the anxiety can like help you like realize you're in danger and act on it. But like in my case, I have like generalized anxiety disorder. So in my case, I just became anxious for no reason. So if you're anxious for no reason, like you keep feeling like you're in danger. So like when you're always like so alert, like it really sucks. But at least I got that good medication now, which I didn't have when I was with my turf mom because she lied to my psychiatrist. So I ended up with the wrong medication.
Yeah, as someone who also has generalized anxiety disorder, well, I mean, transitioning was just dealing with transitioning was a nightmare because I had a shit ton of anxiety, and then they're just like following the because I was originally diagnosed with gender identity disorder. Back before, not too long before the DSM-5. It was like late DSM-4 or whatnot, but it was like, it's like, oh, you need to, your life has fallen apart and you have issues coping with a lot of stuff because of anxiety. By the way, there's like 50 more things you need to do for like a year, and then maybe we'll give you hormones. And it's like, oh great. I would have money for clothes, for pretty clothes, and I'm like, I don't know how to deal with going full time and without getting hormones. Full time for a year before getting hormones. It's just, or like 6 months or whatever. And it's just like
it was 6 months for me, and I was surprised that I had enough clothes, which was kind of like, where did I get these? When did I buy these?
Yeah, and it's just like I am so glad that they got I'm so glad informed consent for adults as became a thing, because like I just it sucks. Having a million things to do to transition sucks when there's already discrimination on top of that. And also having generalized anxiety disorder on top of that. And some depression.
Yeah. I do want to transition, but I'm like kind of worried, like all the steps, like I really don't know how it works exactly. Like I have an appointment with my doctor soon, and I'm gonna like try to ask her like what should I do? Like, how should I start like transition and all?
Are you you're non-binary
Non-binary
mask.
yeah, mask. So like I'm AFAB, and I want to go more like I want like kind of like FTM, like I want to look more masculine.
The there is one nice thing about having a trans kid though. We did exchange a fair amount of clothing. So
yeah, there's a couple of people online who thought I was MTF, as in I was like at the beginning of my transition. So I was like, okay, so you think I'm AMAB, and I was about to transition to female. So I don't know, like they got it wrong, but at the same time, it's kind of validating because they're really saying that I look male. They were like, oh yeah, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to pass as female. I'm like, I'm FTM. It's the opposite. So,
Yeah,
I saw somebody commenting on your Twitter that said you'll never be a woman. Which I thought
yeah, it's. I mean that stuff is just
kind of priceless.
Yeah, but I mean, also assume like doesn't realize how much change actually occurs and doesn't need to occur for some people. Because
I think it indicates it's what's in their head. They first identified
instinctively
them as a him, and then they aren't. That's what goes on. It's what you first latched onto and identified them as, and then they get stuck with it. They aren't able. If somebody changes under that, how would one cope with that?
Yeah.
I did see trans people on Twitter like they pretend, like for example, if it's a trans woman who has like fully transitioned, like she just switched her picture, like she puts her picture as now a female, and she put her picture when she was still presenting as male, and she pretended that she was actually the opposite, just to see all the turf are gonna reply, and they were keep replying that no, you're a woman, you will never be a man, but like they got deceived because she just like switched her picture. So like they keep saying that they can clock like every trans person, like my turf mom said. But I was dating a trans woman for a while, and she never like realized that the person was trans. So like her whole I can clock them anytime, like it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. Well, of course it is. Talking with people about it, and you say, I can see people and I can identify them right away. I figure out these sorts of things. It's all these subtle things that I'm figuring it out based on. And you go, let's say you're right about all of them. What makes you think that you caught all of them? What makes you think that you didn't just go, I can clock 10% of them? So you've got some mysterious ability where the size of their thumbs tells you what gender they are. Okay, so you've figured this out, and you know their secret. But what makes you think that you're actually able to determine this on all of them?
Well, not just that. Oftentimes it involves clocking cis women as trans women.
Yeah, that's toxic for everyone.
I'm sorry. I've said this before, but my mom gets clocked trans more than I do. Which is funny. It's funny as hell to me. It's not exactly funny to her, but it's funny as hell to me.
No, I understand all of that they're clocking non-trans people as being trans and all that sort of thing. But just push all that to the side and you go, you're saying I spot all of them because you spot you think you spot some of them. How is it that you make this into in your head that you spot all of them? Why is it that you accept an argument that you would accept from nobody else?
I have a friend that for 30 years we worked fairly closely together in no, I'm not we worked fairly closely together on various things, and it was not until I came out that I found out she was trans.
Yeah.
30 years.
And it's just I get the impression that that's them telling themselves. Or sorry, were you not finished?
Oh no, I realized I was about to give too much information because I don't
want
to out the person.
Okay.
I didn't want to out the person either.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's yeah, I get the impression that they're telling themselves that because they can't deal with the idea of them being wrong, because the idea of them not being able to tell always, I get the impression that terrifies them for some reason or another. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but
no. I think you're right on the money there.
I just spent 3 weeks passing, which is not. I mean, it's not necessarily gold, but I don't mind it. And I finally fell apart on Friday. Someone misgendered me, but I think it's. It was more of a, I'm not sure what to say here, sir or ma'am. So,
yeah, I had that before.
The thing is, if they can't always tell, then sometimes when they were looking at somebody and having those thoughts, they were being gay.
Yeah, I think some of them they're just worried that if they're like, I don't know, if they're like attracted to a trans person, they're kind of worried that they're gay. Like, no, but
I had the funniest thing. I had a lesbian checked out person actually flirt with me, like strong flirt. And
yeah, because trans women are women.
Yeah, and I thought this is cool, and then I came home and I was kind of like all, if you'll pardon the word, cocky, and he was like, how did you know? What made you think she was a lesbian? And I said, three short nails without 3 short fingernails without nail polish on those fingers.
Oh God!
What does that mean?
Hey.
And there are certain tells.
Hey, bisexuality and pansexual people don't necessarily conform to every aspect of the gender norm, and just but I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh yeah, I've been misgendered before. Having bigger boobs decreased my misgender chance. I was on 50-50 for a bit. So, like, every time, but essentially, I swear this is my attitude. Every time I stop getting misgendered, I'm like, let me see if I can cut my hair shorter.
Yeah.
I also think it's weird. My biggest dysphoria is about my hairs. It really is.
I'd say for like trans masculine people, like having a beard is probably the best way to avoid getting misgendered. Because I get misgender in real life. Like at my workplace, I'm not out, so obviously, even if I look super masculine, they're still gonna say she because they don't know. They're just gonna assume I'm just like someone masculine. But when I go outside, like most of the time, I get called he, him most of the time. But
Yeah.
I do want to grow facial hair like a little bit, just so like it's kind of impossible for someone to say that's a girl. Like
Well,
that would be weird for someone to assume because people like will assume that if you have a beard, you must be a man. If you have boobs, you must be a woman. People are
yeah.
gonna assume that. So if you want to pass, those are like good thing to have. Like that just show that like yes, gender is kind of socially constructed. Like if you have a beard, they're gonna assume you're a dude. If you have breasts, they're gonna assume you're a woman, even if it's not always the case.
Well,
Like I do have.
they have to be breasts as obvious as possible. That's why I got breast augmentation surgery, to make my boobs more obvious and stop getting misgender sweat. No, it's also partially because it was free. But and I'm like, I can do it, so I'm going to.
No, I wish mine were smaller, but they're really not that visible. Like with the kind of clothing I wear, like nobody noticed them.
Yeah, and that helps. And there's plenty of like I've seen plenty of models who are women who just have small boobs. Like people are just, and I'm sure they might get misgendered sometimes because people can't always tell, and there's a lot of overlap that people just don't want to acknowledge, or some people don't want to acknowledge. I should say, because obviously not everyone is transphobe.
When I was growing up, one of the things that my mom used to get very angry because everybody would say, "What a cute girl," and I'd get flustered because it was like, how do they know? Which is a strange thing, but it's and then they would mention my hair, and I just kept making it more and more girly, although it's naturally curly. I have naturally curly hair.
Me too.
Just like the little redhead girl. But it's like it's actually when I was trying not to come out, the thing I did was shave my head, which was to get rid of all possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have to finish the sentence. So,
Yeah.
all possibility. It didn't work, by the way. Just saying, I did come out eventually.
Yeah, I could never get myself to grow a beard. Not that I lacked facial hair. It's just that deep down I always hated facial hair. No, I've always been bothered by like a lot of physical dysphoria, and that was like getting gender confirmation surgery was like the biggest part of my reasoning for transitioning, for dealing with any sort of transitioning. I mean, it became especially after getting HRT, it became more about being myself or whatnot. But like, that's to some degree because that alleviated a bunch of my dysphoria, the physical dysphoria on my end. But then again, I'm sure someone would find a reason to suggest that I'm not trans enough, if they're jerks about it.
Yeah, it's yeah.
No, for transphobe, you can never like be trans enough. They're gonna like there is some transphobe who literally misgender Blair White. Like I don't like Blair White, but you need to be really, really ostensibly transphobic to misgender Blair White.
Yeah.
Like if you go out of your way to even misgender one of the good one, like oh my god.
Yeah, shit. Who was that? Was that Ben Shapiro?
Madeline Byrne?
Madeline Burns.
Oh,
Magdalene Burns.
Oh yeah, she would. I could swear there was someone who talked and like had to force themselves to misgender Blair White.
Yes.
I think
There's
it
a
was Ben
conversation
I was
Shapiro.
reading.
Yeah, it was probably Ben Shapiro because, like, Blair White had a pretty friendly chat with Ben Shapiro, but when she talks with a fellow trans person, she's always like super rude to them, but she is like super polite towards the transphobes, which
Yeah,
is like, you. But I think Ben Shapiro at some points correctly gendered what is her name? Like I know she played in Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, Laverne Cox, when he corrected himself and kept saying she and then went, I mean he.
So like you can see that like
Yeah.
there is a big part that is just like gender is social construct. So like you will like if the person look female to you, you will instinctively want to say she her. But he's like he's extensively trying to fight back against it because he has to keep his deep transphobia. But
yeah, because he can't deal with the idea of the things not being so binary.
yeah, but like Ben Shapiro is like he keeps talking about like
But I
facts
think it's
over feeling,
not
but
that, so it's not even. I don't think.
yeah, like Ben Shapiro has like no knowledge in biology. He doesn't even understand the whole like the wet ass P word thing. Like he didn't understand that it was natural for the P word, like you say, to become wet. Like, so I don't think he has like much knowledge about biology. I don't really think he knows how the human body works. And I really, really feel bad for his wife. I think it's just his wife who told him that it's not normal because he's not able to like to pleasure her, so he doesn't feel bad about it. She told him that it's normal for P word to be dry, so this is why he thinks that it's not normal.
So the classic relationship thing, if you're
Isn't
not
she
feeling
a doctor? Yeah, his wife is a doctor.
Yeah, she is. Of faking orgasm, but like to the next level of making excuses.
That's just to prove that conservative.
Don't worry, I'm a doctor, honey. You can trust me. It's normal.
Conservative doesn't know how to have sex. That's the proof.
Doesn't know how to have good sex.
Yeah, so don't sleep with a conservative. They don't know what they're doing.
Yes, and if they do know what they're doing, there's a chance they might become liberal.
Yeah, you should always stick to leftists because a lot of them are more socialists and communists, so
really
they're gonna redistribute the orgasms. So this is nice.
From each according to being on his knees.
That said, we are getting close to the end point of this episode of The Fluid Voice. So let me start with you, Perfict, because you are the fastest. Where can people find you, and is there anything you're working on?
The Rumpus Room Discord, and this is what I work on.
Okay. Christy, how about you?
Christy Abbey is my regular channel on YouTube. Chris Abbey Music, which once in a while has something new on it. There is something new on it since last I mentioned it. It's Chris Abbey without TY, because it's old. And Normality, Quake on Twitter. And I'm just working on getting my girlfriend to town, which has been a bit of a logistical nightmare and a financial nightmare. So if anybody wants to give me money, please do. I need it.
Yeah. And anything else you're working on?
No. The novel won't be out for another year yet. So.
Okay. So, I am Ozma in the Dark. I'll get to the guest last. Save the best for last. You can find me at Ozma in the Dark at OzmaInTheDark.com, Ozma in the Dark on YouTube, Ozma in the Dark on Twitch, Talking to Nothing on Twitter. I am perpetually trying to get a YouTube video to finish a YouTube video, but I've been like stuck on life stuff and or recovering from surgery. So that's been delayed indefinitely. I swear it's actually a video I've been wanting to get out for a while. That said, you can find me here on the Fluid Voice every week. LGBTQ rants, which is on this channel on Wednesday, which Christy is also on. I knew it was going to get mentioned regardless, so that we started recently, and I can't remember if that's on at 3 or 4 Eastern.
4.
4 Eastern?
4 Eastern with
Okay.
Sophia Booker.
Yeah, LGBTQ rants. It's me, Christy, and Sophia, and I think that's about it. Ricky, where can people find you?
People can mainly find me either on Twitter. My username on Twitter is Ricky Castelgay. And I also have a YouTube channel called Ricky Guay. Gay is written Guay. Like like in English, people would be tempted to pronounce it Guay, but it's a French name and it's pronounced Gay.
And make sure to pick the right one, because there's another Ricky Gay on YouTube.
I think there's another one. Yeah, I think there's another one. But I think it's
the
pretty
one
obvious
with the profile picture that I put up on the Fluid Voice. That one.
Yeah, so that's me. I also have a Discord server. It's linked in every one of my video. It's linked in the description. So yeah. And right now, I'm working on a video about sex being a bimodal distribution and not a binary.
Cool.
Yeah.
So remember, we have a Patreon, which should be linked down below. We don't have a coffee account, do we?
Not for the Fluid Voice yet. I mean, I've got my own personal Patreon and whatnot, but we're just trying to set this up so that we could share the wealth.
Yeah.
Communism.
But
yeah. Well, we've got the Patreon. We've got
yeah, we also have a Discord. And I also have a Discord. I just never remember to promote either. Well, I mean, the Fluid Voice is like up there in the corner of the screen. Also, I forgot to mention that I do World of Warcraft Classic raiding on Saturdays at like 10 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, most importantly, outside of giving us millions of dollars, no, most importantly, your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter. And that's because people are important. We all care about you, even if we don't know your name or who you are.
Wear a mask.
Yes, wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Listen
if you care about
time.
other people and yourself, wear a mask.
Yeah. Even
Wear a
the
mask.
mildest versions of COVID suck.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have been prosper.
Peace.